Hello? Anyone hear me okay? Yes, perfect. All right, let me know if I need to be louder or quieter or what. I don't have anything prepared in advance. Like the previous times I did this, I had some kind of idea of what I wanted to do, sketched out some code, but I'm just going to do this from scratch. Have a rough idea of what I want to do. I could probably outline it here. So basically what I want to do is create a market structure dashboard. So I guess the steps to achieve that would be to define market structure shifts, breaks of structure, and all that stuff. And whatever we do in that step, we're basically going to have to turn that into functions so that we could pass in data from other symbols. Because basically what I want to do is kind of have a table up in the top right or whatever for multiple symbols and easily showing, maybe different time frames as well. But ultimately, we're going to have to get that data from the script and pass it into what should be, just one function to, determine if structure is currently bullish or bearish. Turn into functions. 3. Pass in other, what's it called? Other symbols and or time frames if we get to it. I don't know if we're going to finish this whole thing on this stream. Gonna probably do whatever I can in this one. If we don't finish, we can always come back to it. Someone asked about smart money essentials indicator. Let me just drop that link really quick. Let me pin that. Okay. All right. So I could theoretically just pull, the market structure code from other things that I've made. For example, this one you can kind of see faintly here, breaks of structure, market structure shifts. But I'm kind of interested just to do the whole thing from scratch, just in case, maybe there's something I didn't realize before when I was first making this code. And so shouldn't be too complicated. We don't need to reference too many things in history. Basically, we really only need to store pretty much the last pivot high and pivot low. And, each time we get a new one, we can just overwrite that. And, if we're in a downtrend and we break a high, then we can say we're bullish, vice versa. If we're in an uptrend, break a pivot low, we can say we're bearish. So we basically only have to store one high and low at a time and just roll with that. So let's see. Usually I store, the price and the index of that, which is usually helpful for, drawing these lines and stuff. So just try to do that to begin with. Maybe say, let's see. Let's just do pH for pivot high equals NA. I'm just gonna make that NA at first, just so we don't have any problems in the future if we set this to 0 or something, and we say, price is greater than 0, so that accidentally triggers a market structure shift or whatever. So for our int pH index, we can set that to 0. I'll just copy that, do the same thing for lows. This would be much more fun if I could have some music without getting a copyright strike. So let's see. If we're determining our pivots, that's going to be based on some pivot strength, which is what I have in most of my indicators, where basically, I guess I should probably demonstrate this to make it a little more clear, but essentially, just do MSS labels. So if I have a pivot strength of 1, as I do right here in these settings, my structure is set to 1. Basically, what that means is that if we are bearish and we are looking for market structure shifts to the upside, we are considering basically any pivot where there is a high with a lower high right next to it to the left and to the right. Whereas if we set this to something like 5, then for market structure shift, we would have to be looking at areas where there is a high to the left. Oh, sorry. There are, turn that off to make it a little more clear. So for this swing high, you can see market structure shift right here. And that's because this swing high is indicated by having 4 candles whose highs are lower than this one in the middle on the left and the right sides. So it kind of gives you like almost like a sensitivity parameter to help kind of tune what really dictates structure shifts. And you can, change that to wick or close, whatever you want to do. But basically that's the logic I'm going to go with and try to replicate. So pivot strength, input.int, just make this 1 as a default. Shouldn't need much more than that. And then what we need to do. So to determine if something is a pivot high, we don't need to store these in array since we just need the last one. So if I'm just doing this on the current chart, let me turn this stuff off. Let's see. Add to chart. So TradingView has these built-in functions, ta.pivot high and pivot low. So if you're trying to find a pivot high using the high of the candlesticks, your source is going to be the high, and then your left bar is going to be your pivot strength, and same for your right bar. Same thing as I was explaining before. You have that one candle in the middle that marks out your swing high, and then you're looking for this many number of bars on the left and the right to validate that pivot. So let's see. Just say local high equals ta.pivot high. And then we could just simplify this. If we have a pivot high, then pH, we're going to reassign that to that swing high, which the value of that would be the high from this many bars ago. And then pH index, which we might not even need, honestly, if we're just doing a dashboard. I think the only reason I keep these index values is so I know where to draw those market structure shift and break of structure lines, because they need to reference where the original candle was. But if we're not too concerned with actually drawing that stuff, we might not need to store that. I'll just do it for now, though. So we're going to just save the current bar index minus pivot strength, then extend that same logic to pivot lows. Source is going to be low, pivot strength. That should be good. So we can test this by just drawing some labels. Label.new, pH index, and then pH. So this would draw basically a label for every new swing high that's created. We don't need any text. Then let me just do the same thing here. What is it? Style equals, and we'll make this a label that points down. And then for the swing lows, we'll just make it a label that points up. Change that to the low. Let's see if that does anything. Is that giving an error? Oh, shit. Okay. Save, see if that works. Let me just turn off all this stuff because it's probably distracting. Saved. It is not drawing them right now. So we have TA to pivot high. Reassigning our pivot high and index. Label.new. Oh, shoot. Okay, it's probably this max labels 500. If you don't specify that, then it's probably going to just draw a few. Compiling, just waiting. Come on. Jesus. Nothing's being, oh, add to chart. Whoops. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Yeah, so now you can see what I'm saying with it being every single pivot when you have that structure or pivot strength parameter set to 1. Whereas if we put that to something like 5, yeah, you're going to see more significant pivots, relatively speaking. So each one of these swing lows right here, for example, was made because this low is lower than the 5 bars to the left and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars to the right. So since this is the 6th bar that comes in right here and it's lower than this low, that this label should disappear if we increase pivot strength to 6. And it does. So seems to be working as expected. All right, that was pretty easy. So we can say, all right, so we're storing those values, so now we need to know when we close through them. So we can say, to avoid repainting, which if you're not aware, basically on, you know, the current bar that's still moving up and down because it's still live, you know, if a condition is true at the moment, but changes while the bar is still active, some drawings can populate and, you know, disappear, and just, it can be misleading when you're looking at a historical chart because you don't know which ones were there while the bar was forming, which ones got changed and all that. But you can kind of eliminate that by including just a 1 bar delay. So if close from 1 bar ago is greater than pivot high, we can do, let's see, bar structure bullish. I'm just trying to make these as descriptive as possible so it's easy to understand. But we can say the structure bullish equals structure bullish equals NA. And then when we do, oh, sorry, if we close over the pivot highs, then we can set structure bullish to true. But if we close below pivot lows, then we can set structure bullish to false. Why is that giving an error? Pivot high. Oh, why did I write it like that? That should be pivot low. I don't know what I'm doing. Let's just rename these so it's a little more clear. Pivot high. And let's do pivot low, just so we're not getting confused on all this stuff. So let me take that pivot low, do that, and then we could show that. How do we want to show that? We just do plot shape on the bottom and do, so our series is basically what dictates whether the shape appears, but we're just going to set that to true. And then for the color, let me actually take a step back. Title, if you really want to be specific about it, you can just do structure, style. I'm going to do a square, location. I want to put this at the very bottom. It's going to be like a bar just going across the screen. Then color. So now we can say structure bullish, and this is a conditional if statement. So we can say if structure bullish is true, that's what this means with this question mark right here. We're going to set it to whatever, green, otherwise red, just for the time being, and see if that works. So let me put this back to something like 1, see what that looks like. It's probably, actually, I'll just keep it a 5, but match it up with the labels from Smart Money Essentials, since that should be accurate. So bullish MSS over here on this bar, we see that. Bearish MSS right here. Oh, sorry. That's the pivot that we broke. Bearish MSS occurred right here. 1 bar delay for that. And now we're red. MSS from this pivot. Yeah, so it seems to be working good. All right, yeah. Let's make that a little bigger, actually. Size, right? Yeah, size equals size dot small or normal. Yeah, so that's a little better. And we can just, for the sake of it, just make these colors input values instead. So I'll just do bull color equals input dot color. Then do the same thing for bear color. That way we can change these to whatever we want and just put the variables in here. And yeah, I'll publish this when it's all said and done. There's a few things I want to do to this. I don't know if I'm going to get to everything tonight, but whenever it's done, I will be publishing this. So this works for the current chart, but now if we were to bring it into, bring in multiple symbols, how would we do that? So we could potentially, I don't know if I love this idea, but we could potentially just copy and paste this for, as many symbols as we need, and make this just one large function, and just pass in the open, high, low, close values from each symbol that we want to use. So let me work on adding the other symbols. So var, let's just do G str for structure, just to make it a little more organized when we add in some more parameters here. And then I don't know, what names should we add in here? What is this? Symbols, like we can do S&P. Let's just do symbol 1 equals input dot. What is this? What do you normally put here? I'm drawing a blank. Input dot. It's not source, is it? Oh, it is symbol. It wasn't coming up. Okay. Symbol, default value, let's just do like, what is it? ES1 exclamation point. Symbol 1 And then group. So the whole purpose of this group thing is to just make it a little more clean in the settings. So you can see the string I made here of market structure is showing here, and it has all this stuff categorized nicely. And then symbols, gives it some spacing, and then you have your inputs over there. Let me clean it up just a little more. So let's do market struct, or no, inputs rather. And we can do variables. This is ultimately going to be a function, so I'll call this functions. So this is only going to work for the current chart. Maybe we can just already start working this into a table so it's a little easier to see. Yeah, Thomas, I think I'm gonna do both. Different symbols and different time frames. So we can do, let's put in a table somewhere for dashboard equals table.new. Just do position dot top right. Whatever, 10 columns, 10 rows. White frame. I'm just giving these really quick default values so we don't have to worry about it. Now if bar state is last, whoops, then that's when we're gonna populate all the structure being bullish or bearish for various symbols and timeframes, because you don't really need to do that for all the historical data. You just really care about what's happening on the most recent bar. So some logic, just put a placeholder here so it doesn't yell at me in the errors. So we should be able to make this into a function. Check structure, let's say. And I mentioned we are going to have to pass in the OHLC data. So open, high, low, close. And we probably will also have to pass in these pivot high things if we do choose to go that route where we just copy and paste these for every symbol that we have, which wouldn't be too bad. So right. So the issue here is you can't change these if they are initiated as global variables, which we did here. And the reason we did that is to retain the value from previous bars without having to overwrite it. So how can we get around that? We could say, What do you think about this one? So this should work for the current time frame. If we were to bring in, well, let's just get the data from ES and see what that looks like. So let's just do sim1 open. Let's simplify that a little bit. S1 open, S1 high, S1 low, S1 close. Request.security. This is how we get data from another time frame. Symbol 1. We'll just use, yeah, the current chart time frame. We can pass in an empty string expression. We want open, high, low, and close. Gaps off. Look ahead on, doesn't matter if it's an indicator. Do not want to put look ahead on if it's a strategy. Okay, so we have the data here. So I'm wondering what would be another way to manipulate all this data if we can't initiate it as a global variable. One option could just be to set it to, like pivot high equals pivot high from 1 bar ago, but then, well, actually that could work. I was going to say that you can't do that by itself because on the very first bar where this tries to execute, it has nothing to reference from 1 bar ago, so that just causes an error. But you might be able to get around that. I was trying to think here. What else could we add? Yes, could do NQ1, maybe crude oil. So that would be symbol 2 and 3. They can just do the same thing as far as getting the data for those. Symbol 3, symbol 2, symbol 3, symbol 2. And then don't forget to change these. Okay, so now we have data for all that. Let me take a look really quick at some of my other indicators because I forget how I did this. Huh. So if we turn this into a function, the issue is that pivot high and pivot high index are global variables. Can't change them within a function. Oh, wait, but we could probably pass in placeholders for that, no? Like if we took this and we just did pivot high, wait. So if we don't pass that in, maybe let's just do temp high equals our pivot high. Temp low equals our pivot low. And the same for our indexes. So if we have placeholders for that, then we should be able to change them. Temp high, where else did I have that? And obviously this won't change the value of these, but what we can do is pass them back in the function after it executes. And what is it? Structure bullish. So essentially doing something like this, where you can say, this is basically your objects that you're returning. So you could just do temp high index, and everything else that we just made. Temp low index. What's it called? So now we should actually be able to call this and then use those variables to reassign back to here. So it's kind of a dirty way of doing it, but I don't know, whatever works. My head's a little cloudy at the moment, so I'll take what I can get. We could just do, hang on, core logic. So what can we do? High index, low index. Probably gonna have to differentiate these as well for each symbol, but I'm just trying to make this into a function first. And then last one is structure. So we can get these by calling this function check structure using, I guess we can test it out on this data right here instead of just passing in the keywords open, high, low, and close. So we could do that. And then when we have these values, we can reassign them. Temp high equals that. Index equals high index. Low, whoops. Wait, why is it doing that? Undeclared identifier. Oh, pivot high, whoops. Okay, no errors. And then what is it? Structure bullish. Reassign that to this underscore S. And now it should behave exactly the same as it is here. So save, and even this bar should be the same. So we have, no? Why is that? Structure bullish. What is that? Invalid symbol. What? Why is that? Huh? Why is that an invalid symbol? We are on the chart right now. Do I have to be on ESM? No? What? What'd I miss? Symbol 1. Okay, well, does this work with just regular open, high, low, close? Open, high, low, close, save. Wait, what? Why is it giving that error? That's so weird. Symbol doesn't exist. Okay. Don't quite understand what the issue is right here. Let's just, is it an issue that we're on it? No. What symbol is giving an issue? Oh, whoops, I'm stupid. NQ1, CL1. Jesus Christ. Okay. My bad. So that should be the same as what we had prior. Let me get rid of these labels because we don't really need them. Just comment it out for now. We might want to have them in a little bit. Market structure shifts, market structure shifts. MSS here, MSS there, MSS everywhere. Should be fine. Okay. So that works for turning it into a function. Let me try again to use this data instead of just the raw open, high, low, close. Because if we were to do that on every single symbol by mistake, we're just going to be using the current charts data and not the data that we pulled in from these things. Still seems to work. Okay. That might actually work. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but... So we don't need these indexes. I think I was right in that. We don't need them unless we want these labels. But if the purpose of this is to make a table, dashboard, whatever you want to call it, we're not going to be able to see most of those symbols unless you have a whatever 4 by however many chart layout set up so where you can see all of them at once. But what's the point of that if you have a table to easily check that? So I think I'm just going to eliminate that since that would probably make our lives a little easier. Don't need this. So we don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need these. Whoops. Ah, crap. Right, that's good. Delete, delete. I think that should be fine. Yeah, it seems to work. So it's not going to be the most visually appealing indicator unless we were to add back that logic, which, you know, isn't a horrible idea, but I don't know. I think the main idea is trying to get it on multiple charts at once. So let's see if we can make that work first. So instead of calling this, let me just change these symbols really quick so make it something a little easier to work with. So I'm going to call this S1 since we were using S1 open, high, low, close right here like that. Going to do S2, S3. Where were we? S1, 2, 3. All right, then I'm going to change this to pivot high 1. Oh, shit. Pivot high 1. Pivot low 1. And structure 1. Yeah, that's fine. So now that should be changed everywhere where it needs to be. So now in this function, we'll have to pass in which pivot high we're using because we're going to be duplicating all that. So pivot high, pivot low, structure, and we can do that. And just pass in the value of pivot high 1, pivot low 1, structure 1. So we should be able to just duplicate that for all the symbols we have. So let me move this here. So whatever, I'll just keep it at 3 symbols right now, but essentially 1, 2, 3, change all those. And now we should be able to just copy and paste this stuff. Ah, shit. Okay. It's the one thing that's annoying about temporary variables. Let's see. Oh, what am I doing? This needs to be a 2. Brain freeze. This has to be 3. And now these sources also need to be 2 and 3. So again, I'm just taking the symbol data from the other symbols that we read in, which I believe were NQ and CL, and we should be able to compare all of those just in a whatever 1x3 chart. So let's see if that works. Well, let's actually get our table. So logic, dashboard, whatever title. Well, first cell will be symbol, second one will be structure, and then for the first row, we will just do symbol 1. Convert that to a string to be able to read it into the table. ToString. Oh, wait. Whoops. There's going to be. Same thing. str to ToString structure 1. It's a little confusing to see all these short form names, but it's a little easier for me to work with. Do the same thing, just change those to 2s and 3s. I think that should work, maybe. Let's see. False. Oh, right. Whoops. Okay. So we can just make a super quick function. Maybe get structure. That's a little too similar. Structure string, maybe. And input of whatever, S. And then results equals switch S. So this is basically, sorry, I'm not really explaining too much, but the switch statement is basically going to let us pass in this parameter S, and we're going to define a couple options that it can be and spit out a result. So for example, if it's showing false, then we want to return bearish. And if we're showing true, we want to do bullish. Because this string here that we're passing in is ultimately going to be these str1, 2, and 3 parameters, which are Boolean values, true or false. Initially, we defined them as structure bullish, so I was assigning it such that if we close over pivot high, market structure shift bullish, that we would assign that value to true. And if we had a bearish MSS, we would assign it to false. So that was my idea behind why we have these two cases of being either false or true. And then we should be able to use this function. Instead of str to ToString, we're going to do this. And we could also, let me see if that works first. So this table should say bearish and bullish. Okay. Interesting. Why is it saying that for the current time frame? Whoa. That should not be all red. The hell happened there? Damn, something went wrong. Probably. Oh, yep. Okay. Forgot to change these. I noticed a straight str variable instead of. One sec. Let me. Whoops. ph3. Let's see if that works. These should say bullish. Okay, yeah, I think that fixed everything. Keith said, I noticed a straight str variable instead of str1. Is str a valid variable? Where is that? Oh, I did. Okay. Yeah, so str I used here to pass in my structure string, which I guess can be a little confusing as it's also here, which is in this case a keyword from TradingView, just kind of denoting string functions and what you can do with that. Because if you control click on this string keyword, you see that we have a lot of built-in functions from TradingView that you can basically take a string and do, str.contains to check if a string contains a certain string or substring rather, format time, match, all this other stuff. So str.toString is a built-in variable. The str that I used up here, which I can just change to make it a little more clear, just make that s. Yeah, all that was doing is just serving as a placeholder for the structure string that is passed in for each symbol right here. So what we can also do in this structure string variable is just return a color for this stuff. So let me collapse that. So when we're showing bullish, we could, make this cell green. When we're showing bearish, we can make it red. So we could say, we could just basically do the same exact thing, actually. Make this results and make this color equals switch s false, meaning we have a bearish structure. We could just make this as our bear color that we assign as an input and the bull color. And then we can return both of these values as result and color. So then when we execute this function, we'll have to do a little bit of work to extract those values. So instead of putting it in here, you can't put it in here in this table.cell function or whatever line, because it's returning two values versus before we were only returning the string. But here we're returning both the string and the color. So we could say results 1 color 1 maybe equals structure string. And then so we could return the results as the text. That's our bearish or bullish. And then color, right? Oh, BG color. BG color, background color would be this. So we would have to copy that as well. And str2, change these to 2s and 3s. And then same thing, do that. And that should be good, I think. Yeah, so that's showing bullish on those time frames. I hate how that green looks. That is disgusting. Let me, what is this value? This green's a lot better. So put that as our default input. And then what is the default red? It's a little darker, a little nicer. Ah, way better. I hate that default green so much. So in theory, that should work. We can compare. We could just try to see what this looks like on multiple symbols right now. Let me. Okay, before we do that, let me just do. Let me grab some code from one of my other things for the table position because I want to show that structure is valid on all time frames, but all this crap up here is gonna annoy me, so might as well do it first. Let's get table position. We'll just use something like this. Var G table. Oh, Jesus. Inline. Okay, so those are all the options that you can select for table position. And then let me just grab the function here. So just one big switch statement is generally the easiest thing to do, at least for me, where you have all the different possibilities and you return, instead of hard coding position.top right here, you can just pass in whatever you selected as an input and spit out, one of these. And so you can do get table position. What was it called? Yeah, that works. Dash position. So let me change the default of that so I can start adding some other charts. We'll do middle right or whatever, bottom right. Sure. Now when I put on 3 charts, yeah, we should see it there. Let me actually change it to middle right then, so it's a little easier to see. Middle right. All right, whatever, that works. And then for this layout, I want the same interval for every chart, but not the same symbol. So whatever, we can change these to check NQ and CL. This really isn't super. Wait. Okay, well that's gonna be an issue. This one's showing all 3 bullish, all 3 bullish, all 3 bearish. So what's happening when we're getting these values? Interesting. Check structure, pass in all this stuff, which we defined up here. S2, 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 S3, S3, S3. And we have pH1, 2, 3. Those should be good. And when we're using this function, we're passing in what looks to be the right OHLC data and the right structure strings and all that. Oh, wait. Well, that shouldn't actually. This shouldn't matter necessarily. Wait, why? a little confused what's going on here. Change that back to ES. Let me just make sure these have the right ones. So why is that showing all bearish? If I go to replay on CL, is it changing every one of those? Yeah, so they're all bullish, then they all flip bearish. So that's okay. So it should be a pretty recognizable error in that case. Because why? All right. Starting from the top, half of this stuff was going to be debugging anyway, so enjoy the ride. 1, 2, 3 for symbol 1, 2, and 3. That should all be correct. We are using the correct one for each one. It's not like we're using S1 for all these by accident. And then check structure, OHLC, pivot high, pivot low structure. Oh, you dumbass. So I did exactly what I said not to do before, in the sense that we're using the global variables, high and low, instead of using the highs that we're passing in right here. So we need to change this to H, pretend like we actually know what we're doing. Make this an L as well. Save. Now all these should be the same. Oh, Jesus Christ, what is that now? That should not be happening. Nope, that did not fix it. That was an issue, but not apparently the issue. Oh, close. I'm so stupid. Bang! They're all showing the same one. Sick. So we could probably check this over a couple of different time frames as well. These tables are massive on this screen. I need to get another function to change the size because this is just insane. Dash size. Do I have that? No. Crap, where are my functions for table size? Oh, I don't have one in this one? Damn. I need to add that back. 1 sec. I gotta grab this from another script really quick. Table size. Okay, that works. So we can put this back. Damn, that was such a stupid error. I was trying to avoid that. Put this here. And make that dash size. These are all the options again. Auto, tiny, small, normal, huge. I think I missed one. Large. Yeah. Good to know that I need to fix that. Done. Okay. And now the function to actually change table size should be this, just another switch statement that I'm going to add right here. And then we can just store this as a variable. Table size, dash size. We don't need to call this on every iteration of this. We could just make this a variable. Table size, and then what is it, text size? Yeah. Equals table size. We have to put that in. Do we have to put that in every cell, or could we just put it in the table settings? Nah, I think it has to be in every cell. Oh well. Not too difficult. So now if I change that table size, what the hell is this? I gotta fix that. Small? Yeah, I mean, it's a little better. It's not amazing, but I'll take it. Probably can't see it on stream though, so that's probably a waste of time to some extent. Clean up those labels first and foremost in the input. No inline. Table size and position. Tables implied, since that's the group we're in. One more save. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Okay, I guess I could just literally zoom out of my screen instead of trying to mess with other functions. So we could check maybe a weekly. What am I on? This should be ES. Okay, ES, NQ, CO. This one's bullish. You can clearly see. Turn this back on. On all of them, just so we can see the trend a little easier. So broke this high, market structure shift up, we are bullish. Same thing here, and we are bearish on CL. Now if we were to change this, well, I don't want to change pivot strength on one of them because I'm going to have to do it on all of them. I'll just check different time frames. 4 hour, bullish on all of them. Month, interesting. CL is showing, oh, whoops. I guess because my pivot strength is different. Structure 5. That shouldn't be the case. Huh. I don't think that's right. Why would that be? Just not have enough data? No. What if this is 2? What? Why is that bullish? I don't know. I'll look into that. But I think for the most part, we are okay. Let me check at this point in time. CL should be bearish. It is. Okay. What is that? 3 o'clock on Thursday. 3 o'clock on Thursday. ES was bearish. And NQ was bullish. That looks right. Interesting. Why? That's so weird. Why is it just on the monthly time frame? 1 minute? Okay. 5. I mean, what? Okay. It looks great on every other time frame. There might just be something I'm missing. Let's put another symbol here. I don't know, fucking Euro USD. What if I change this? Bullish. Let me change this to 2 charts for the moment. Okay, that looks good. Weak. MSS. Why is... Okay. Oh, I'm on NASDAQ. God, I'm so tired. Bearish from that perspective, okay. Because of our pivot strength, if we had it lower, it would probably be bullish. Yeah. So it doesn't change these colors right here because this is from the other indicator. That looks good. What does this act weird on a monthly? No, it says it's bearish. What if we replay a little bit? Starting out bearish. So the plot shape at the bottom isn't accurate because it is taking the STR1 value. So if we wanted to actually show structure for the current chart, we could actually do that. Just make a fourth one, just call this like S0. Then we're gonna have to do the same thing here. 0. But on this one, instead of doing S1, we're just gonna grab the current symbols info by doing siminfo.ticker_ID. So this will always be the current chart, and you won't have to change the settings to match. So maybe that could be an option whether you want to show that or not. But S0, then we can do the same thing here. 0, 0, 0. So that should be okay. Damn, we've been going for an hour? Jesus, okay. So instead of checking structure 1, we can just check structure 0, and that should reflect structure on the current time frame. Yep, that looks better. So bearish MSS, bullish, bearish. Looks good to me. I'm still wondering why the hell crude oil wasn't working. What? Why? I don't get it. This... Am I looking at the wrong CL? Like, why? In what world? Huh. Strange. Yeah, I mean, it's pulling from the same source as well. Very weird. I can't understand why that is. It's only happening on this one. 3, 3, 3, 3. Make sure there's no 2s or 1s anywhere. 3-3. I mean, it seems to be fine. I don't know. I mean, that seems to be one anomaly I'll take a closer look at, but it seems like we accomplished the bulk of what we were looking to do. Change that to 3, see what that does. Oh, wait. Oh, I think I might have realized something. What is it? Oh, no, I already fixed it. I was thinking it might have been an issue where I was defining pivot lows and pivot highs from something that wasn't the desired symbols OHLC data, but I don't know. That's going to bug me now. Huh. All right, well. I don't know. I mean, there's anything you guys think we should add to this, I'd definitely be open to taking a look at that and adding before we actually publish. So I'll probably, I don't know exactly what I want to add to this, but I figure we could do maybe a couple things to clean it up at some point and, you know, maybe release it sometime, probably not tomorrow, but probably sometime next week. That's true. Change the symbol to just the root or checker without the prefix. Yeah, that would be nice. Oh, yeah, I forgot I was going to do multiple time frames as well. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we could do that for another stream tomorrow or something, because this is already going on pretty long and I got to get out of here in a little bit. But yeah, so change the symbol without the prefix. I've done that before. I can grab the code for that. And MTF as well. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I think that would be a pretty nice way to wrap it up if we had multiple time frames on here, and had, you know, this singular bar to tell you what the current chart is. Could be pretty cool. And obviously, since you guys are seeing the code now, it'll be open source when it gets published. Yeah, I mean, there's not too much else. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'll probably shut it down in a couple minutes if there's not any questions. All right, doesn't seem to be any questions, so I'll definitely post again if I am anticipating to do this again tomorrow or just anytime next week to clean it up before getting it out there. But again, appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'll see you next time.